Four people trapped inside something called the wheel game, hanging in midair. Each of them starts saying what they would do if they could just get out alive. But that's only a dream now, because the entire city has already turned into zombies, and they're surrounded from every direction. To understand how things reached this point, we flash back 1 week earlier. At that time, there was a reality TV show being filmed called The Love Hunter. The show's idea was simple. It filmed couples confessing their feelings to each other. Each person would bring their partner and say, "I love you," and the partner would reply, "I love you too," followed by sweet moments between them. The show often had a studio audience of many participants, plus a special VIP room where celebrity guests, such as an actress, a boxer, and a football player, sat together to watch the live recording. Of course, before the show began, the host gave the usual reminder for likes and subscriptions. Yes, that's what they said, not me, though it wouldn't hurt if you did it too. The host then explained the rules of the program. A beautiful female contestant entered, but she was feeling a headache. It was clear she was unwell. Suddenly she fainted, but nobody paid much attention. When it was her turn to meet her boyfriend so he could confess to her, he approached and told her, "I love you." She didn't reply, keeping her face hidden. But when she finally lifted her head, he was shocked. Her face had completely changed, now resembling a monster. In a sudden, violent move, she lunged at him and bit his neck. She had turned into a zombie. At first, the celebrity guests and crew laughed, thinking the couple was just acting for the show, joking about how romantic it was. But moments later, the young man collapsed to the ground, bleeding from his nose. The girl's face was now covered in blood, and the reality of what she had become hit everyone. Panic erupted in the studio. The infection spread rapidly. One person bit another, who then bit someone else, and soon the entire place was swarming with zombies. The guests tried to escape through the back door, but the zombies noticed them and began chasing them down the street. Outside, they found even more people had already turned, and the horde began pursuing them too. They ran desperately toward any vehicle they could find, managing to climb in just in time before being bitten. They drove away, checking their phones, only to see news headlines reporting that a strange virus had broken out across the city, turning large numbers of people into zombies. Fear gripped them. They had no idea what to do. They agreed to stay inside the car until they could find a safe place and figure out their next move. They also made a pact. If any of them got bitten, they would tell the others immediately so the rest could escape and survive, even if it meant betraying a friend. The driver then warned them that the car was running low on fuel and they would have to stop at a gas station. The others protested, fearing zombie attacks, but the driver insisted there was no other option. Reluctantly, they agreed. When they arrived at a seemingly empty gas station, the driver took the car keys with him. He didn't trust them not to leave him behind. As he tried to pump gas, he accidentally made a loud noise that attracted the station attendant, who was now a zombie. It attacked him from behind. The driver tried to escape, but the zombie overpowered him, killing him on the spot. The others were terrified, but noticed something strange. The driver didn't turn into a zombie right away. They also discovered that zombies couldn't see them. They only reacted to sound. This gave them an idea. Stay completely silent until the zombies left. They then came up with a plan. Someone had to quietly pump gas and get the car keys back. Nobody wanted to volunteer. One claimed his leg hurt, another said he was sick, and another complained of stomach cramps. Finally, a young man named John decided to risk it. He asked them to keep the car door open so he could jump back in quickly if something happened. He crept to the pump, but the machine made a loud noise, drawing zombies toward him. He panicked, thinking it was over, but managed to run back and jump into the car just in time. Then the football player got out, using his wits to lure the zombies away by throwing a box far from the car. With the zombies distracted, John took the chance to go back to the pump. This time, he managed to get it working and started fueling, but the noise brought the zombies back. He rushed to the car, but realized he had only pumped a small amount of fuel. This meant they had to repeat the mission. The actress volunteered to distract the zombies while the boxer pumped the gas. At first, everything went smoothly, until the actress screamed in fear at the sight of a particularly grotesque zombie. This one was different. It was faster than the rest, and it began chasing her. The boxer ran to her aid just in time, pulling her into a cabin and locking the door. The zombie waited outside, refusing to leave. The football player stepped in again, making loud noises to lure the zombie away. Meanwhile, John took the opportunity to search the dead driver's pockets for the keys. He found them. But at that moment, the driver turned into a zombie and began chasing them too. The group sprinted back to the car, starting it up and speeding away from the gas station. Thankfully, nobody else had been bitten. They were relieved to have survived, but their joy was short-lived. A zombie appeared in the middle of the road, and John, panicking, failed to avoid it. They hit the zombie and crashed, knocking everyone unconscious. The first to wake was the boxer, who began waking the others. John came to, only to discover that the person next to him had died, reducing their group to 5. They mourned the loss, but quickly noticed more zombies nearby. Spotting a supermarket ahead, they decided to take shelter there and grab food. With one girl's leg injured, the boxer carried her on her back. They made it inside just in time, locking the doors. Suddenly, something grabbed the football player's leg. He thought it was a zombie, screamed, and collapsed in fear. But it turned out to be a woman, an employee of the store, who told them the place wasn't safe and urged them to get to the staff office. However, the office staff refused to open the door for her, so the group stepped in to vouch for her, assuring the staff they weren't infected. Recognizing them as famous people, the staff allowed them in. Now their group numbered 10. They introduced themselves, each sharing their story of how they ended up there. Despite their different backgrounds, they all shared the same goal: survive and escape the zombie threat. But then they noticed blood on John's face. Fear spread through the group, thinking he was infected. A doctor among them examined him and reassured them, no bites, he was fine. Soon after, they checked the security cameras and saw that there was plenty of food in the supermarket. They decided to send someone to get it, and 2 high school athletes volunteered, as they were part of the sports team. They agreed to watch the surroundings through the security cameras, and if they saw zombies approaching, they would trigger the alarm. The mission began. The 2 high school students stepped out, carrying a large box to fill with everything they might need. The plan was going smoothly. They successfully gathered plenty of food, supplies, and enough resources to last them for a long time. They were getting ready to return to the office when disaster struck. The box tore open and everything spilled onto the floor. The loud noise caught the zombies' attention. Hearing the sound, the zombies rushed toward them. The terrified store employees triggered the warning alarm, but the students couldn't escape in time. One was caught and torn apart by the horde. The second student panicked and ran for his life, but in his fear, he tripped and fell. The zombies swarmed him, and just like his friend, he was devoured on the spot. Shocked and horrified, the group inside the office realized their lives were in serious danger. They regrouped to think of another plan. Among them was a soldier, the strongest and most capable of the group, who decided to risk his life and go out himself. The football player volunteered to accompany him, as he was also fast and agile, able to outrun zombies if needed. Everyone admired their courage, urging them to be careful. The 2 set out, moving cautiously, passing by the bodies of the students who had died, fearful they might turn into zombies. They continued until they reached the food storage area. They split up. The football player went to get a shopping cart and bags to carry the food, while the soldier went to grab bottled water. But the noise alerted the zombies, who began heading straight for the soldier. He rushed back toward the office, but realized the football player hadn't returned yet. Determined to help him, he made loud noises to lure the zombies away. Unfortunately, one of the zombies caught sight of the football player and began chasing him. The football player ran desperately, but in the chaos, his bags fell to the ground. The zombies noticed and closed in on him. Everyone feared it was the end. But like a cat with 9 lives, he managed to escape and regroup with the soldier. The 2 returned to the office carrying the water and some bags, but they still didn't have enough food. They devised another plan. The injured girl would hide inside a shopping cart with a large box placed on top to conceal her. Her job would be to make noises to lure the zombies toward her, giving the others a chance to collect supplies. At first, she was scared and hesitant, but feeling like a burden on the group, she reluctantly agreed. She wanted to help in any way she could. A foreign guy offered to go with her, reassuring her not to be afraid. She replied, "Fine, let's go." But he led her the wrong way, drawing the zombies' attention. Panicking, he abandoned her, running back to the office in tears. Meanwhile, the girl remained trapped in the cart, surrounded by zombies, terrified and unsure what to do. The boxer decided she had to save the girl. She gathered a small group to help. Among them was a brave young man who risked his life by making loud noises to draw the zombies toward him. This gave the rest of the group the chance to grab the food they needed and rescue the girl. Unfortunately, during the escape, the brave young man slipped and fell. The zombies surrounded him instantly. This was the end for him. He was killed right before everyone's eyes. They were deeply shaken by his sacrifice and mourned his loss. Realizing the supermarket was no longer safe, and with the barricade door close to breaking under zombie pressure, they planned an escape. The idea was to split into two teams. The first would form a protective circle using shopping carts as shields, attracting the zombies and moving toward the supermarket's front door. The second team would use the distraction to slip out. The plan started well until they discovered the door was locked. As the zombies closed in, one of them managed to break it open just in time, and the group escaped into the garage. But the garage was crawling with zombies, forcing them to hide inside a large tent. Inside the tent, they ate what they had managed to bring from the supermarket and discussed their next move. They found 4 car keys inside and decided to use them to escape. One of them went out to check the cars and was shocked. There were more than 20 vehicles parked there. They had no way of knowing which keys belonged to which cars, and any noise could attract the zombies. John and the football player volunteered to test the keys. They moved quietly until they reached one of the cars, but the football player accidentally made a noise, attracting zombies. They hid, but one zombie heard John and began chasing him. The football player realized John was in trouble, and instead of abandoning him, climbed onto a car and made loud noises to lure the zombies toward himself. John seized the opportunity and tried the keys. He found one that worked, but there was a zombie inside the car. Startled, he slammed the door shut and moved to another vehicle. This one was empty, but when he tried to start it, he discovered it had no fuel. Meanwhile, the zombies were getting dangerously close to the football player. Knowing his life was in danger, John and the others created a diversion to draw the horde away, allowing him to escape. They all made it back to the tent safely, except the boxer, who was still outside. She had one of the keys and was determined to try it, but the zombies noticed her and began chasing her. She quickly hid under a car. John, seeing her in danger, refused to abandon her. He jumped across car roofs, making noise to draw the zombies to him. The boxer took the chance to run back to the tent. Then John used his speed to evade the horde, also making it back in time. They then considered a new plan. 4 people would use heavy metal sheets as shields to protect themselves from zombies while reaching the car. But the group pointed out that the sheets were too heavy for anyone except John to carry. Since that wouldn't work, they came up with another idea. 3 people would climb onto different cars, making noise to lure the zombies away, while John would use the distraction to reach the vehicle and start it. But then, something happened that no one expected. We learned that the zombies have started to evolve. Their intelligence is increasing. One of them begins to climb up a car to reach the group. Terrified, they scream, convinced this is the end. But suddenly, an old man appears, armed with a machine gun, and opens fire, mowing down a large number of zombies. The group seizes the chance to jump down from the car and rush back to the tent. The actress stays behind briefly to thank the old man for saving their lives and invites him to join them. He refuses, apologizing, and explains that it's too late for him. He's been bitten in the leg and will soon turn. He tells her to go back to her team and take care of herself. Tearfully, she leaves him behind. Meanwhile, John manages to reach the car and start it, but finds it wedged in place. The sound of the engine draws the zombies, and here's the shocking part: they can now see as well as hear. John panics and quickly covers the windows with newspaper so they can't spot him. When the zombies finally leave, he returns to the tent and explains what happened. The group gathers to plan their next move. They decide to use the garage's car lift to clear the path so their vehicle can move. The actress returns to the old man, asking him to draw the zombies' attention. He agrees, firing his machine gun to distract them. While 2 teammates rush to operate the lift, they manage to move the blocked car out of the way until its alarm suddenly blares, attracting the horde from all sides. The football player panics. In a desperate, cowardly move, he shoves the girl beside him to the ground, leaving her to the zombies as he runs back to the tent. The zombies surround her. She screams in terror, certain she's about to die. But one of the team members sees her and can't stand by. He risks his life to help her. Unfortunately, both of them are bitten in the process. The others realize the infection will soon spread through their bodies. They tie the pair up until they can decide what to do. The girl, in tears, accuses the football player of causing it, but he denies it, claiming it was an accident, that he had only meant to support her and somehow shoved her by mistake. They notice him laughing and ask why. He explains he has a condition that makes him laugh when he's nervous. As they discuss escape plans, the actress points out something strange. Zombies tend to gather around the old man but never attack him, likely because they sense he's infected and think he's one of them. This gives the boxer an idea. Why not send the two bitten teammates to operate the lift? They're going to turn anyway, so there's nothing to lose. The plan is agreed on. The two bite victims successfully operate the lift, clearing more cars from the path. The team decides to keep them alive for now to use their help, but ties their hands and gags them just in case they turn suddenly. They leave the tent and reach the car. John starts it, but the noise again draws zombies. The old man provides cover fire with his gun, allowing them to escape the garage. Relieved, they drive away, but the old man stays behind, tears in his eyes. Not wanting to turn into a zombie, he chooses to end his life. The team drives through the night until dawn, eventually heading toward the nearest village to rest. But they notice that the two bitten teammates are starting to show more advanced symptoms. They decide to keep them anyway, hoping they might find a cure. A bully among the group mocks them, threatening to open the window so sunlight will burn them. The girl snaps back, "Do you think I'm a vampire?" She warns that when she turns, he'll be the first she bites. Frightened, he tries to convince the others to throw her out of the car, but the rest of the group refuses. Tensions rise, and they decide they need a clear leader whose orders everyone will follow. The actress suggests the soldier, brave, disciplined, and trained to handle crises. Everyone agrees, but when they check their supplies, they realize their food and water are running dangerously low. Then they spot two crashed cars up ahead and decide to investigate. Approaching cautiously, they find a dead girl in one car. At least she seems dead, until she suddenly turns into a zombie. Luckily, her seatbelt keeps her restrained. The real surprise, however, is the discovery of a huge stockpile of food, water, and even fresh clothes. Overjoyed, they change into clean outfits and start loading the supplies into their vehicle. But as they work, a group of zombies appears in the distance, closing in fast. The team quickly splits up. One of them drives the supply-filled car away, telling the others to follow in their own vehicle. They speed off toward the village, but find the locals have set up a barricade, refusing entry to strangers. The team disguises the two bitten members with makeup to hide their infection. The village mayor arrives and, convinced by appearances, lets them in, offering them the local hall to stay in. A table is set with plenty of food, and the team is moved by the villagers' generosity. They all eat happily, until they notice a woman crying over her recently deceased husband. They don't think much of it and keep eating, but the boxer hears strange noises from a coffin. The mayor quickly insists the sound is coming from outside. The soldier, however, notices the woman is only pretending to cry. Suspicious, he warns the group that something isn't right, but no one believes him. The villagers seem so kind. The mayor personally escorts them to their sleeping quarters. The group is grateful, but they worry the bitten two might turn during the night, so they keep their distance. Later that night, we see the mayor handing money to the woman, revealing they had staged the crying scene together. Worse, the food had been drugged to knock the team out. The mayor drags two of them away to an abandoned building, ties them up, and leaves them there, laughing. When they regain consciousness, they find themselves bound in a dark, horrifying room filled with corpses, and to their horror, a chained, elderly female zombie. We learn in a flashback that she had once been kind and beloved by the mayor. After she was bitten, he couldn't bring himself to kill her, believing there might one day be a cure. Instead, he locked her away and periodically brought her meals. Sometimes a man, sometimes a woman, sometimes even two people at once. And now, the team members are his latest offering. Back in the present, the team realizes they've been kidnapped. The soldier manages to cut through his ropes, freeing himself and the others, only to find the door locked from the outside. Fortunately, the two bitten teammates had been left outside the room. Hearing their friends' calls, they wake up, though the virus has spread further through their bodies, making their movements zombie-like. Still, in what may be their final moments as humans, they decide to help the team escape. There was an open window behind the zombie, so they decided to use it to escape. the football player distracted the zombie so that the girl with him could slip away. She took the chance, moving quietly behind the zombie, and successfully climbed out through the window. After that, the football player grabbed a large basket, slammed it down over the zombie's head, and ran off to safety. Meanwhile, the two bitten teammates were still searching for the key to the locked room to rescue the rest of the group, but they couldn't find it. They were forced to use a large wooden plank to smash the lock. The team rushed out only to see that the bitten two were now on the verge of fully turning into zombies. With heavy hearts, they left them behind and kept moving. They walked until they reached an abandoned factory. Relieved, they thought they were finally safe, until they heard strange noises inside. Investigating, they found a large number of zombies trapped in cages. They quickly realized these were actually the infected villagers that the mayor's mother had bitten, and he had imprisoned them to keep anyone from finding out. Suddenly, the mayor arrived with his men, his face full of rage. We learned that he had come to check on his mother and remove the cage from over her head, but she bit him on the hand, infecting him too. The devoted son now burned with hatred for the group, blaming them for everything that had happened to him. He began searching the factory for them. The group scattered, each hiding in a different spot. Unfortunately, the mayor found the actress and captured her. She refused to reveal the others' locations, so he decided to use her as bait. He locked her inside a cage full of zombies, leaving her to cry out for help, and kept the key in his office before leaving the factory. The actress begged her friends to leave her and save themselves, but they refused to abandon her. They began planning a rescue, realizing they now needed the help of the two bitten teammates they had left earlier. Just then, the two who had been kidnapped earlier rejoined them, explaining what had happened. Together, they devised a plan. The actress would shout as loudly as she could, drawing all the zombies toward her. John would then slip into the mayor's office to retrieve the key. The plan worked. John managed to grab the key. Inside the office, he also spotted a remote-controlled toy car. Cleverly, he attached the key to it and drove it toward the actress's cage. But one zombie bumped into the toy, knocking the key to the ground. Now someone would have to deliver it by hand. The boxer suggested using the human zombie trick. If no one had been bitten, they could smear themselves with zombie blood to mask their scent. That way, they could move among the horde without being attacked. Everyone liked the idea, but no one had the courage to try. They decided to settle it with a game of rock, paper, scissors. The loser was the foreign guy. "Yes, man. Go, I'll cover you. Same cover I gave the girl," they teased. He went to a dead zombie, smeared his clothes with its blood until he reeked of decay, and then, with trembling steps, walked through the swarm. The plan worked. The zombies ignored him, but he knew he had only 1 minute before the blood dried and his cover was blown. He pushed his way through the crowd, found the key, and delivered it to the actress. But just as the minute expired, the zombies caught his scent. They surrounded him and bit his neck. The soldier rushed to save him, dragging him away and locking the door behind them. The bite was deep. He wouldn't have long before turning. The group needed another distraction to free the actress. Luckily, the two bitten teammates from earlier arrived just in time. Moving slowly, showing signs that the virus was almost fully in their systems, they agreed to help. Confident that the zombies wouldn't attack them, they walked through the horde, reached the actress, and freed her from the cage. They surrounded her to shield her scent from the zombies, but because the cage rope was tied from both sides, someone had to replace her in the same position to keep it secured. The soldier volunteered, climbing in to hold the rope. The team was moved by his bravery, agreeing he was truly the best choice for their leader. They feared for him, thinking he might be torn apart, but he used his military skills like a ninja, climbing the rope and pulling himself up to safety. Meanwhile, the mayor captured the two bitten ones, setting zombies on them. In the chaos, the group escaped in a vehicle with a mysterious man who had intervened. He took them to his hideout, assuring them it was safe. They noticed traps and metal barriers around the area, ingenious defenses to slow zombies and make noise if they tried to enter. Inside, he revealed he was a journalist on a secret mission in the village. He explained that the mayor's mother had been infected for 2 weeks, making her the source of the outbreak. The journalist also noticed the foreign guy's infection was progressing rapidly. They gagged him so he couldn't bite, tied him to a bed, and locked him in a room. The journalist began teaching the group zombie survival tactics, showing them his research and traps. He even demonstrated a method of escape, hiding inside large metal barrels so they could move among zombies without being attacked. He also revealed a bizarre weapon he had invented, a shotgun-like device that fired raw potatoes as ammunition. The group practiced shooting, with the boxer proving to be the most accurate. Others, less interested in training, focused on eating and drinking, especially the two bitten members, who devoured almost all the remaining food. The journalist brought out protein, which turned out to be worms and insects. The group was disgusted, but the soldier, used to eating anything from his army days, dug in, and the rest reluctantly followed. Later, the boxer noticed the foreign guy having spasms and moving strangely. When one teammate brought him food, he didn't respond. He had died. They covered his face and mourned, only for him to suddenly lunge at them, fully turned. They realized transformation happens immediately after death. Fearing the danger of bringing him along, the football player suggested leaving him with the journalist, who might find a cure. They agreed. Soon after, the journalist told them he had contacted the police, who said there were boats taking people to a safe zone. The nearest boat would leave in 2 hours. They armed themselves and set off, but arrived too late. The boat was already sailing away. They called out and waved, but it was no use. The journalist reassured them there was another boat coming in 5 hours. Unsure where to wait, they spotted a nearby barn and decided to hide there until morning. And so they made their way inside. They managed to reach the amusement park and, convinced by the idea, they went to the Ferris wheel. They turned on the power so they could ride it, but it turned out to be a stupid move. As soon as they did, the entire park lit up, and all the rides powered on. The noise and lights attracted a massive number of zombies, which began to move toward them. To make matters worse, they discovered that there were people hiding inside the park, and now, because of them, their lives were in danger. Feeling guilty, they decided to help, using the weapons they had taken from the journalist's house. They split into 3 rescue teams. The first team found a girl trapped in the bumper car ride, but they couldn't reach her because the ground was slick and unstable. The football player got into one of the cars and began driving it slowly toward her, trying not to alert the zombies. The plan was going smoothly, until he accidentally bumped into another car. The loud crash woke up all the zombies nearby. His teammate acted quickly, making noise to draw the zombies' attention away. The football player seized the chance, freed the trapped girl, and they all escaped from the ride. The second team was John and the actress. They spotted a family trapped inside the spinning cup ride and decided to save them. They crept toward it, managed to get inside, and freed the family. But just as they were leaving, they realized the little girl's oxygen tank had fallen inside the ride. They had no choice but to go back for it. That's when the zombies noticed them and charged inside, surrounding them. Fear gripped them. They thought it was the end. But suddenly, a ride operator appeared. He was still alive. Seeing their predicament, he started the ride, spinning it rapidly to keep the zombies away. It worked. The actress grabbed the oxygen tank, and they all escaped safely, returning it to the girl. The third team was the soldier and the boxer. They encountered a young man who begged them to save his fiancée. She was trapped on the carousel, surrounded by a crowd of zombies. Fortunately, the boxer still had the potato gun weapon from the journalist's house. She prepared to use it, but the fiancé's constant rushing made her nervous, causing her to miss several shots. She had only 10 rounds left. She told him to let her focus, gathered her courage, and began firing accurately. She managed to take out a large number of zombies, clearing a path. The fiancé sprinted in, rescued his fiancée, and fled. But soon after, the zombies regained consciousness and surrounded the soldier and the boxer. Forced to retreat, they ran into the trampoline area. They kept bouncing from mat to mat, while the zombies, unable to jump, kept falling flat on the ground. Seizing the opportunity, the pair slid down a slide and escaped in time. Meanwhile, the 2 bitten teammates felt useless, unable to help. Wanting to do something meaningful before turning, they used a whistle to make a loud noise. The zombies swarmed toward them, and they lured the horde into a giant ride. Once most of them were inside, they activated the ride, trapping and killing a huge number at once. With 3 hours left before the boat's arrival, the group headed to the Ferris wheel. They met the surviving ride operator and promised to take him with them when the boat came. They asked him to start the ride and keep them locked in for 3 hours, then let them out. He agreed, securing them inside the cars. They felt safe, thinking nothing could go wrong. But then they heard the operator scream. Zombies had attacked him, killing him instantly. Panic set in. No one was left to let them down. They were stuck high in the air. Luckily, the 2 bitten members were still on the ground. The group shouted to them via walkie-talkie, telling them they were their only hope, but by now the virus had fully spread through their bodies. Symptoms of transformation began to appear. They were thirsty, weak, and eventually fainted. Back in the present timeline, we return to the opening scene of the series. Each person began to say the one wish they'd fulfill if they got out alive. Suddenly, the 2 bitten ones regained consciousness, but to the group's shock, they had gone blind. The journalist had estimated they had about 1 hour before turning completely. They made their way to the Ferris wheel controls to free the group, but the infected girl decided to take revenge on the football player for shoving her in the garage, which had led to her being bitten. She said, "I'll open the doors for everyone, except you. I'll keep you locked here until I bite you myself." He panicked, hiding under the seat and covering himself so she wouldn't see him. She stood at the controls, refusing to open them, until the actress, fearing they'd miss the boat, revealed the number of his car. Delighted, the infected girl stopped the car, laughing nervously, and opened it. Their other bitten friend opened the rest of the cars, saving everyone. He told them to run before he turned, then locked himself inside one of the cars. The virus spread rapidly, and he transformed into a zombie. The infected girl turned too and immediately bit the football player. The group escaped the amusement park. Only 5 survivors remained and reached the port. But the boat had already departed, though still visible nearby. They shouted to the captain, begging him to return, but he ignored them and kept going. Afraid to jump into the freezing water, they searched for another way. The soldier found a grappling hook and threw it with all his strength, managing to snag the boat. Standing on a barrel, he pulled himself across, followed by John, then the actress. Next was an overweight girl who slipped and fell into the water. The soldier dove back to help her, but zombies began pouring into the port. Realizing they were out of time, he told the others to get on the barrel without him. The captain, hearing their shouts, saw them and cut the rope, leaving them stranded in the middle of the sea. Once again, the soldier risked his life, diving in to push the barrel back to shore before the icy water could kill him. The captain wanted to throw John and the actress off his boat, but they pleaded with him, explaining the zombie threat. The captain scoffed, saying he'd just been out fishing. No zombies anywhere. They realized in shock that this wasn't the rescue boat the journalist had told them about, but had no choice but to stay with him. Meanwhile, zombies broke through the port gates, trapping their friends on the shore. Just when all hope seemed lost, a massive bus plowed through the horde, crushing everything in its path. The group seized the moment, boarding the bus and finding a large number of survivors inside. The driver revealed he worked for the journalist and that this was the boat the journalist had mentioned. Then, to their surprise, he drove the bus straight into the water. They thought they were being drowned, but the bus had been modified to travel underwater. It carried them far from the shore, and relief washed over them. They finally slept peacefully, believing the nightmare was over. But then the truth came. The virus had spread everywhere, not just Korea, but across the globe. Humanity was on the brink of extinction. A week later, the government imposed a total lockdown on Seoul. Anyone entering the city had to undergo testing to ensure they weren't infected. A large truck headed toward Jeju Island stopped at a checkpoint. The officer opened the trunk, and out stepped a new group of survivors. These would be the heroes of the next chapter in the fight to escape the zombie apocalypse. The officer told them they would need to stay in coastal quarantine for 3 days, after which they could enter the city normally. He led them to the facility where tests were conducted to ensure no one had been bitten or shown symptoms. They obeyed, and when they entered, they noticed many heads inside. The place was actually a shelter for survivors. Doctors began running medical tests to confirm that no one was infected. Afterward, the newcomers were sent through a tunnel for full viral decontamination. Emerging from it, they saw many other survivors, relaxed and enjoying themselves. Conversations revealed that life here was safe and relatively comfortable. Each member of the new group registered their names so their food rations could be allocated. The shelter supervisor came to speak with them, explaining the rules and assuring them the camp was secure. He then took them to the sleeping quarters, where they saw people who had been separated from family and friends, anxious because they didn't know if their loved ones were still alive or had turned into zombies. The new group tried to comfort them, but suddenly, one man began moving strangely, almost like a zombie. Fear spread. Everyone backed away, thinking he was infected, but it turned out he was simply drunk and not in his right mind. Guards quickly arrived and restrained him to prevent further trouble. The tension broke, and people laughed at the misunderstanding. Later, they headed to the dining area, only to run into John and the actress from the ship. The reunion was a shock and a joy. They were glad to see each other alive. They asked how John and the actress had escaped the zombies and made it here. John's mind flashed back to a week earlier. They had been aboard the ship, unsure where it was headed. Luckily, the police stopped them, checked for infection, and escorted them to the shelter. Seeing that it had everything they needed and was safe, they decided to stay. Back in the present, they all went to lunch. A famous chef was there, showing off his cooking skills and handing out meals. As they ate together, John boasted to his friends, "You haven't even seen a zombie yet? I used to feed them with potatoes. You believe that? We were a big group once, but most of us died. Only 5 of us are left." While talking, John noticed a strange-looking guard and called out to him, thinking he was sick. The guard ignored him. John found it odd but didn't press the matter. Suddenly, the army commander entered, asking for volunteers for simple missions. Everyone pretended to be sick to avoid going, but the actress and John raised their hands and went along. Meanwhile, a truck full of new arrivals was approaching, but inside, one man began showing symptoms. And then the feared moment came. He turned into a zombie, attacking and biting the others, infecting them. The truck reached the shelter, and the officer opened the doors, only to be swarmed by a fully turned horde. They bit him, then advanced toward the shelter. The actress spotted them and panicked, calling for help. People tried to barricade the doors, but the zombies were too many and broke through, chaos erupting everywhere. A guard rushed to a high vantage point, lighting a torch to warn others. For many inside, it was their first time seeing zombies. Fear made them clumsy. They shoved each other, trying to get inside buildings. In the chaos, the actress was separated, nearly killed, but the soldier and the boxer arrived just in time, pulling her to safety. Zombies flooded the shelter, killing guards and biting many, turning them in minutes. The new survivors hid under tables, desperate to think of a plan. They noticed that freshly turned zombies moved slowly and decided to take advantage of this. The plan: cover zombies with blankets and tie them up. It worked at first, until blankets ran out. 5 zombies remained loose. One lunged at them, but someone threw a tent over it, trapping it. Still, they didn't know how to handle the rest. They had no experience fighting zombies. As the zombies advanced, their doom seemed certain, until the chef stepped in. He was huge, muscular, and fearless, wrestling the zombies into submission and locking them in the tent. The group celebrated. No one had been bitten. Elsewhere, the soldier and the old team were escaping through tunnels. They couldn't go back due to the horde. They reached a dead end with a river blocking the way. Thinking fast, they spotted a fallen tree that could serve as a bridge. The soldier went first, tying a rope to the overhead structure, then crossing. The rest followed, but as they did, zombies reached the riverbank. The group crossed together, the tree creaking under their weight. At the last moment, the soldier pulled them across with the rope, saving them. They traveled for hours until they reached the open plaza leading to the shelter gate. Zombies were everywhere. The new survivors panicked, not knowing what to do, but the old team reassured them they were used to danger. They moved quietly to avoid making noise, but the zombies caught their scent and gave chase. The group climbed onto high crates, but were soon surrounded. Spotting a cargo net, the soldier leaped from crate to crate until he reached it. The others followed, climbing up. They thought they were safe, until they saw zombies already clinging to the net. One suddenly lunged from above, startling the boxer so badly she slipped, nearly falling to her death. The soldier caught her at the last second, pulling her back to safety. Meanwhile, inside the shelter, those still trapped tried to escape to the roof, but the bitten guards pursued them up the stairs. With nowhere to run, they searched for hiding places and found large lockers. One person found the keys, slipped inside a locker, and shut the door. The zombies passed by, unable to open it. The rest copied the idea, hiding inside other lockers. But there weren't enough for everyone. Someone would have to sacrifice themselves. A girl from their group proposed a dangerous plan: lock the zombies themselves in the empty lockers. Risky, but the group agreed. They lured the zombies one by one, trapping them. Just when success seemed close, a fresh wave of zombies arrived, making it harder. Summoning their courage, they trapped them 2 at a time. The chef's strength was vital. He could overpower and tie up zombies alone. At last, all zombies were locked away and no one had been bitten. Back with the old team, they climbed to the roof, broke through a window, and reunited with the others. Working together, they threw smoke grenades to mask their scent, then ran for it, escaping the shelter. They reached a safe restaurant and decided to stay there for now. The new group was still wary. They didn't fully trust the old survivors, but had no choice but to stick with them. The old team had experience, and safety lay in numbers. As they shared stories, the boxer explained how they were the ones from the bus, which wasn't just a bus, but a modified amphibious vehicle that crossed the sea to this island. When they learned about the zombie-filled truck heading for the shelter, they had tried to warn the survivors, but arrived too late. Impressed by their bravery, the newcomers began to trust them. The chef offered to cook for them again, preparing the best burgers they'd ever tasted. They ate together, laughing and enjoying the meal, and even though the end of the world was near, in that moment, they looked and felt like one family. They turned on the radio, hoping to hear any news about the zombie situation. To their shock, the announcer reported that the very island they were on had been overrun. The virus had spread here just like in Seoul, and the place was now swarming with zombies. They also learned that the military was sending rescue helicopters for any survivors, announcing the coordinates where the aircraft would land. This was their only hope of getting out. They quickly mounted motorcycles, racing to make it on time. The fastest route was through the forest, but it was crawling with army soldiers who had all turned into zombies. The undead chased them relentlessly, but couldn't catch up. They finally reached the rendezvous point and spotted the helicopter. They waved frantically, and the pilot saw them, descending to the ground. Relief swept over them. They thought they were saved. But when they tried to board, the pilot refused, explaining that the fuel tank was empty. The only way they could leave was if they found fuel. Though disappointed, they had no choice but to search. They eventually found a gas station a fair distance away and worked together to bring fuel back to the helicopter, enduring exhaustion and the blazing sun. At last, they filled the tank. Then another problem arose. The boxer discovered the helicopter was too small to carry everyone, but she kept this to herself so no one would panic. When the time came, they all rushed to board. Despite the crowd, they managed to get inside, the doors shut, and the engine roared to life. The helicopter lifted off, and joy filled the cabin. But the moment didn't last. An alarm blared, and the pilot landed again. The helicopter was overweight. At least 3 people had to stay behind. To be fair, they decided to choose by playing rock, paper, scissors. Time was running out. The chef volunteered to stay. His large build took up too much weight, and he claimed he was strong enough to fight off zombies. They now needed just one more volunteer. The overweight girl bravely stepped forward. The team was moved by their sacrifice, thanking them and promising to come back for them. As the helicopter departed, the noise and alarm had attracted a massive horde. Zombies swarmed toward the chef and the girl. The chef gritted his teeth. He would fight them alone. The helicopter flew to a seaside resort. The soldier went ahead to scout and found the area seemingly safe. On the beach, they saw a group of zombies moving slowly and calmly. The narrator's voice joked, "Why so polite?" explaining they were beachgoers who had just turned, still dazed and adjusting. The team entered the resort and were stunned. Inside, people were partying as if the apocalypse wasn't happening. Music played, drinks flowed, and guests danced in the pool. The survivors refused to join in, staying alert in case of an attack. Then they spotted a famous singer performing live. Unable to resist, they attended the concert, enjoying her beautiful voice. But on a nearby big screen, they suddenly saw footage of the football player they had left behind at the amusement park. Shocked, they realized he was still alive. They thought he had been bitten and turned. They confronted him, pulling off his sunglasses to reveal strange eyes and a bite mark on his neck, but he explained he had never turned. After being bitten, nothing happened. Since then, he had walked among zombies without being attacked. Though wary, they listened, until the actress entered and froze when she saw him. She approached to greet him, but he remembered how she had betrayed his location to the zombie girl back at the amusement park. His face darkened. He grabbed her hand tightly. The others tensed, ready to intervene, but he released her with a smirk, claiming he was just joking. The soldier, suspicious, decided to keep an eye on him. They turned on the TV and were surprised to see the chef alive, appearing on a program where he described fighting off zombies on the island. Then a scientist appeared on screen, explaining that rare cases existed where bitten humans didn't turn. Studying them could lead to a cure for the zombie virus. The scientist offered a $50 million reward for anyone who could bring in such a person. Everyone realized the rare case was the football player. Their eyes turned toward him, and he sensed their intentions. Fearing he would be handed over for experiments, he excused himself to go to the bathroom, intending to escape. The group followed to keep watch. They sat together, planning to convince him to surrender for the sake of humanity. When he returned, they told him money wasn't their goal. They wanted to save the world. He agreed to turn himself in, but insisted on going alone. The soldier didn't trust him and insisted they all go together, under the guise of protecting him. Pretending to agree, the football player let them fuss over him, feeding him and treating him well, all while plotting his escape. The moment he had the chance, he bolted. They chased him through the streets, discovering he was unnaturally fast, a side effect of being half zombie, half human. The chase led to the concert hall, where they discovered the entire audience had turned. They learned that someone from the party had brought a friendly beach zombie for entertainment, but it had bitten him during a pool stunt, infecting the water. Everyone who swam became infected. The football player used this chaos to hide among the zombies, knowing they wouldn't attack him. The group kept their distance, watching until he slipped out the back door. They followed. The pursuit lasted through the streets until he darted into the major hotel. Fearing the place was full of zombies, they split into search teams, each exploring different rooms. The actress entered one room with a partner, only to find it full of zombies. They locked the door and fled, her partner leaping over one on the stairs and locking himself on the roof. The boxer entered another room with a man who quickly abandoned her at the sight of zombies, also fleeing to the roof. She continued searching alone, but found nothing, just a zombie closing in, forcing her outside. They then heard the football player laughing, taunting them to give up because they'd never catch him. John entered the hotel with a woman, but she panicked and ran, leaving him alone. He followed the laughter to a room, but it was empty. The player was moving between rooms to confuse them. The boxer joined John, and they finally found him, using a zombie as a shield. He shoved the zombie toward them and ran. John froze, thinking it was over, but the boxer fought the zombie off and continued the chase. They finally caught him. Meanwhile, zombies reached the roof where the hiding group was. Unused to dealing with them, they stayed still, hoping to remain unnoticed. Then a light bulb shattered. The actress screamed, drawing the zombies. They knocked her down and bit her. The others ran, devastated. Meeting with the boxer and John, they learned what had happened. They wanted to go back for her, but it was too late. She was gone. They blamed the football player for everything. Forcing him into a vehicle, they decided to hand him over to the government for testing. On the drive, John sat silently at the wheel, feeling the emptiness beside him, where she used to sit every time they traveled. He remembered all his moments with her, realizing he had secretly liked her but had never confessed his feelings. Suddenly, the football player announced that he needed to use the bathroom. The group refused at first, still distrustful of him, but eventually they agreed. They stopped at a roadside rest area, with 2 members accompanying him to keep watch. Inside the restroom, a zombie suddenly appeared. Panic struck. They locked themselves inside the stall to keep it out. Trapped for a long time, they realized the zombie wasn't going anywhere. They came up with a risky plan. Use the football player as a human shield, knowing zombies wouldn't attack him. The plan worked. They managed to trap the zombie inside and got out safely, returning to the others. Back in the vehicle, they continued their journey until they reached Seoul, only to find the road blocked. The main bridge had collapsed. They had no choice but to continue on foot, descending into an underground tunnel. There, they encountered crowds of infected people. They learned that the government had barred them from entering the city because they carried the virus. Some among the crowd began eyeing the football player, realizing he was a rare immune case and thinking of killing him to cure themselves. The group disguised him with sunglasses to hide his strange eye color and concealed the bite mark on his neck so no one would see. They decided to sleep in the tunnel for the night, planning to take the subway into the city the next day. That night, as everyone slept, one infected man's virus fully spread and he transformed into a zombie. He went on a rampage, trying to bite others. The group rushed to stop him, but he was incredibly strong, throwing them to the ground. To their shock, they realized he had once been a champion wrestler, still retaining his fighting skills. Everyone was terrified, but the boxer leapt on him from behind, bringing him down. Her teammates came to help, pinning the zombie, but he was unnaturally powerful. One member had no choice but to strike him in the head, killing him to save the others. Moments later, the wrestler's brother arrived and accused them of killing a man who was still human. He rallied the infected residents to his side, forcing the team out of the area. The group pressed on toward the subway, their only way out of the tunnel. But they found all the subway staff had turned into zombies. They discovered these zombies attacked any source of light, so they cut the power and split into 2 teams to approach from different routes, planning to meet at the end. The first team began their journey wearing helmets, moving toward the subway station with other tunnel survivors in tow. The boxer stayed in the control room with the football player, watching the security cameras and guiding the team over walkie-talkies to avoid zombies. The mission was dangerous, but they pushed forward. Several people were killed, but the rest managed to reach the exit of the dark tunnel. The boxer then decided to follow their path with the football player, relying on her strong memory of the route. Everything went smoothly until the power suddenly came back on. The zombies saw them and attacked. The boxer froze in fear, screaming. This was the end, but the football player stepped in front of her, shielding her with his body. Since the zombies didn't attack him, he carried her to safety and reunited with the others. She thanked him for saving her life. They continued toward the subway, but encountered a large crowd of zombies moving in the opposite direction. These zombies were passive, not attacking unless provoked. The group decided to quietly walk among them, nerves stretched tight. One wrong move could be fatal, but one man stumbled, bumping into a zombie which attacked immediately. The group used the distraction to slip away, finally reaching the subway station, where they reunited with the other team. They were relieved to see each other alive and decided to wait for the subway together, but the other tunnel survivors began suspecting the football player's strange behavior. They yanked off his sunglasses and saw his eyes. They realized he was the rare immune human the government was seeking. They tried to seize him to claim the reward, but the soldier and the boxer defended him. Luckily, the subway arrived just in time. They all boarded and left the tunnel, feeling safe at last. They decided to rest until they reached the city. 2 members went searching for food on the train, only to find that the passengers had all turned into zombies. Panicked, they tried to run back, but the zombies spotted them and gave chase. They managed to retreat to another carriage, locking the door and barricading it with heavy objects. At that moment, the football player saw an opportunity. Pretending to help, he grabbed one of the group members and threatened to bite her. Everyone froze in fear and backed away. He dragged her to the zombie carriage and, seeking revenge for how they had restrained him earlier, opened the door to let the zombies in. Chaos erupted. The team realized they still had about half an hour before reaching the station, so they tried to buy time, blocking the zombies with chairs and makeshift barriers. The plan worked briefly, but the football player maliciously opened another carriage, releasing more zombies. Worse still, he unlocked the final carriage, filled with an entire hockey team turned into zombies. They were monstrously strong, smashing through every barricade. The team's defenses collapsed. Forced into the last carriage, the survivors quickly set a deadly trap to immobilize the zombies. The plan worked, slowing the undead. Then they climbed into the overhead luggage racks, crawling above the zombies toward the carriage where the football player still held the hostage. They reached him, surprising him with their bravery. He tried to run to the last carriage, but it was locked. Instead, he found a small group of humans hiding from the zombies and begged them to let him in. They hesitated, fearing him, but with the zombies closing in, they relented. Inside, they saw his strange eyes and assumed he was a zombie. One man struck him hard on the head, knocking him out. The boxer rushed over, calling his name, only to realize he was dead. She was devastated, remembering how he had saved her in the tunnel. The subway finally reached the city. The group disembarked, their spirits crushed. The mission had failed. They remembered their time with the football player, asking about him. The girl who had been his hostage told them he had promised never to harm her and only wanted to live in peace. Her words touched them. They felt guilty for how they had treated him. Overcome with grief, they hugged his lifeless body. One member contacted the government, explaining that they had found the rare immune human, but he was dead. The government instructed them to take a blood sample, as it could still help in research. Shocked but determined, they collected multiple vials of his blood, covered his body, and prepared to leave. They knew they had to get the samples to the government before they spoiled. They left the tunnel, heading toward the city, until suddenly one of them sprinted off, stealing the blood samples. He ran off with the blood samples, hoping to claim the government reward for himself. The team was stunned, then immediately gave chase. A long pursuit began, with the thief darting through streets until he slipped into an abandoned building. The team had no choice but to follow. Inside, they split into 2 groups to corner him. Each group took a different route. The first group soon heard faint music. Confused, they followed the sound down a corridor until they reached a basement-like room. There, they found a famous musician. But to their horror, he had dozens of zombies chained up, each with musical instruments fixed into their mouths. He was playing them like living instruments, laughing maniacally. The team was disturbed, suspecting he was insane. When he saw them, he invited them closer, saying he knew where the thief was hiding and could take them to him. With no better option, they reluctantly agreed. The musician led them down a long tunnel into a hidden underground room. "He's under that cover," he said. But when they lifted it, they were shocked to see their own friend, the chef, now turned into a zombie. The musician burst out laughing, revealing his true plan. He wanted to turn them all into zombies to join his twisted musical troupe. He locked them inside the room and walked away, still laughing. Meanwhile, the chef, now a massive, super-strong zombie, awoke and began attacking them with terrifying force. At the same time, the second group managed to locate the thief, cornering him in a training hall. They soon realized he was an Olympic champion in pole vaulting, making him incredibly hard to catch. Every time they got close, he vaulted away. Things became even worse when a zombie entered the hall, making the situation far more dangerous. Seeing no other option, the soldier tapped into his military training, leaping into the air, grabbing a rope and swinging across to tackle the thief. He wrestled the bag from him and threw it to a teammate who opened it, only to find it empty. The thief had hidden the real blood samples in his pocket. Furious, they demanded he return them, warning that the cure's effectiveness would expire soon. He refused and threw 2 vials into the crowd of zombies. The soldier risked his life, diving to retrieve them before the zombies could crush them. But suddenly, a tall, strange-looking zombie appeared, killing the thief in a single blow before slaughtering every zombie in its path. The group realized this was a rare, super-powered zombie, and they had no idea how to stop it. It chased them relentlessly, moving with shocking speed for its size. It grabbed one of the team members, slammed him to the ground, and bit into his neck. Enraged, another teammate jumped onto its back, trying to choke it. The soldier seized the chance, tying its arms with rope and immobilizing it. With the rare zombie restrained, they searched for the samples until they found them. Meanwhile, the first group was still trapped with the zombie chef, who was chained at the waist but still able to lunge forward like a raging bull. The boxer tried to reach his human side, reminding him of their past, but he only remembered how they had abandoned him, boarding the helicopter without him. Fueled by rage, he attacked, biting one teammate in the neck, then grabbing and biting another on the arm. Only the boxer and her friend remained. They devised a desperate plan, standing against the wall to bait him. As he charged, they dodged at the last second, making him slam his head into the wall so hard that he collapsed unconscious. The 2 groups reunited. They had recovered only 2 vials of the football player's rare blood. The victory was bittersweet. Several friends had been bitten and would soon turn. The man who had contacted the government revealed that the blood could cure any